Is it true what they whisper about the old rituals?
Some truths are best left buried, child.
When the bells of St. Agnes fell silent, the moor swallowed more than sound, it swallowed the truth. The convent stood like a tomb atop the Lancashire moors, its stone walls greyed by time and sorrow, its iron gates sealed against the world since the days of the first plague. Wind sang dirges through the broken gargoyles that watched over the chapel roof, and mist hung thick as wool, cloaking the land in silence. No laughter passed through the high windows. No birds dared nest in its spires. Only prayers, whispered too softly for heaven to hear. Sister Ellen arrived at St. Agnes in the spring of 1645, her hands trembling as the abbess pressed the white veil into them. She had nothing else left to hold. Her mother, father, and 2 brothers were buried under a poplar tree outside Wormwood village, their bodies taken by the pestilence in less than a week. The nunnery, they said, was safe. Holy. Above sin and sickness. But within hours, she felt a coldness there the plague had never taught her. She was young, still 17 when they sheared her golden hair. Her cheeks had not lost the softness of childhood, and yet she spoke not of grief. There was no room. Silence was a virtue here. Obedience was law. Sister Anne was the first to smile at her, not a wide smile, not joyous, but something softer, something rare, like light breaking through rain. She was older by perhaps a decade, her eyes the color of dusk and always restless. She walked like someone who knew which stones creaked. When she led Ellen to the sleeping hall that first night, her voice was a breath. Never step near the old chapel after matins. Even in daylight. Why? But Anne only looked at her, then toward the crucifix nailed above the stone fireplace. Her silence was louder than any warning. In the weeks that followed, Ellen tried to fit herself into the rhythm of life at St. Agnes, vespers, fasting, weaving, prayer, cleaning. Her fingers blistered. Her stomach ached from hunger. Her voice shrank. Yet in stolen moments beside the well or folding altar linens, Anne would sit near her, whisper small things, verses not from scripture, but poems about forests, birds, oceans Ellen had never seen. Late one evening, Ellen caught Anne alone in the southern corridor, kneeling before a hidden niche behind the chapel wall. The candles were unlit. She spoke Latin, but not the kind the abbess taught. Her voice cracked like branches in frost. When Ellen stepped closer, and startled, and quickly tucked something beneath her veil. Ellen saw only a glimpse. A rosary. But the cross had been scraped, its body gone, no Christ, only gouged wood. You pray differently, Ellen whispered. Anne's lips parted, but no words came. She took Ellen's hand. Don't ask again, she said, and walked away. That night, the wind turned sharp, and something howled beyond the cloister gates. Ellen couldn't sleep. The dormitory felt colder than it should. Beneath the blankets, she felt her heart pound. It wasn't the storm. It was what she heard through the stone floor, soft dragging, the murmur of voices, and a low chant in a tongue she didn't know. She rose, barefoot, the stones biting her feet. Through the slits in the wall, she saw it, 2 sisters blindfolded, robes stained at the hem, being led down the nave by torchlight. The old chapel door groaned open. A 3rd sister stumbled out, hands raw, eyes wide as moonlight. She collapsed in the courtyard, unmoving, her veil soaked red. Ellen rushed to her bedside the next morning. Empty. When she asked about Sister Mary, the others stared at her blankly. Mother Genevieve appeared behind her, a shadow wrapped in holy robes. Speak not of what you do not understand. I saw. You will fast for 3 days. So she did. Her stomach twisted itself into knots. Her dreams began to change. She dreamed of the moor, only the convent was gone, replaced by rows of crosses, hundreds. Beneath the soil, hands reached upward. Whispers drifted through the roots. The cries of babies echoed in her ears, and the scent of tallow hung like rot. When she woke, her cheeks were wet, and her hands clenched the blanket as if it were someone's arm. On the 7th day, she returned to the well alone. She waited. And came. I dreamed of them, Ellen said. The ones beneath us. And froze. I saw your rosary. I heard your prayers. For a long time, and said nothing. Then, almost brokenly, we are taught to pray for mercy. But mercy never came here. Ellen stepped forward. What happens in the chapel? Anne's gaze shifted to the tower where the bell used to toll. The bell rang every midnight once. Until one night it didn't. That was when the first disappeared. Disappeared. No grave. No name. Just gone. Ellen's breath caught. Who? Anne's voice dropped. A girl named Lisette. She broke her vow. Or so they said. Broke it how? Someone came. A man. She didn't consent. But they said her body was temptation. That the devil used her to mock the cloth. Ellen stared at her, horrified. And the man? He was a priest, and said flatly. He confessed. She burned. Ellen stepped back, wind pressing cold fingers around her throat. They killed her. They called it redemption. That night, Ellen walked the halls alone. The others were in prayer. Or pretending. Something beneath the chapel pulled at her. She passed the corridor where Anne had once prayed. This time, she reached into the niche. A stone had been moved. Behind it, a crack in the wall. She leaned in. Something shifted inside. A faint cry, not quite human. A rasp of chain. She ran. And didn't join supper the next day. Ellen searched the garden, the well, the chapel pews. Her bed lay undisturbed, sheets still folded. But the mattress was warm. When she asked Mother Genevieve, the abbess only blinked. There is no sister in here. She prayed with me. She lived here. There is no record of such a sister. Ellen turned to the other nuns. Tell her. You all knew Anne. None met her eyes. That night, the dormitory felt like a grave. Her candle shook in her fingers. And in the distance, where the bell tower loomed, she swore she saw Anne's veil fluttering against the wind, then vanish into the mist. The iron gates of St. Agnes were chained shut now, sealed by order of a local magistrate. They said a sickness festered inside, plague, or worse. No carts came bearing bread, no priests rode up the muddy path with blessings. The outside world had closed its eyes to the convent and left them in silence, as though silence could not rot. In the days that followed Anne's disappearance, Ellen moved like a ghost, floating through shadows, unseen, unheard. The others kept their heads bowed, lips stitched with fear. The abbess no longer led prayer. She locked herself in the stone tower with parchment and candles that burned through the night, smoke rising like incense from some hidden pyre. Ellen heard mutterings beneath the bells that no longer rang. Names spoken. Her name. She returned to the chapel alone. The air was stale, dust floating like snow through dim shafts of colored light. On her knees, she searched the wall where Anne had once hidden her prayers. Her fingers traced every groove, every hollow. Then, behind the candle rack, beneath a loose stone half swallowed by lichen, she felt it, cloth, stiff and old. Anne's rosary. She pulled it free, breath catching as the cold beads slipped through her fingers. But the cross stopped her heart. It was not Christ who hung there. The wood had been carved with symbols, strange loops, crooked stars, and a circle split in four. Runes, not holy. Not of the church. Ellen clutched it to her chest. A whisper brushed her ear, not spoken, not real, yet it pierced her still, should your flesh betray you. She sat before the altar, where the crucifix loomed heavy above. A place of peace, once. But now, she saw cracks in the marble, veins like old scars. She bowed low, hands pressed to the stone, and something clicked. A tremor beneath her palm. She leaned forward. At the altar's base, a small gap between panels revealed a sliver of leather, thin, cracked, and bound in red twine. She pulled it free. It was a journal. No name on the cover, only a wax seal long broken. The ink inside had faded in places, but the words still breathed. Asterisk I have no saints left to pray to. They do not answer screams, asterisk. The entries were short, fragmented. Asterisk there is no sin in being taken. But they said I invited the devil with my eyes, asterisk. Asterisk Mother Genevieve came to me in the night. She said I must bleed for the church, or the church will bleed me, asterisk. Asterisk they gave me herbs, but the child still quickens. I feel it twist when I lie still, asterisk. Asterisk I saw 3 others taken to the chamber below. I heard no cries come back, asterisk. Ellen turned the pages with trembling hands. Asterisk I was not the first. I will not be the last, asterisk. Asterisk they call it the 5th vow. They whisper it like prayer, if your flesh betrays you, your soul must remain untainted. Bury the sin. Silence the world. Asterisk. The last page was smeared red. The ink ran in streaks like tears. Asterisk I only ever wanted to serve. But they served us to the dark, asterisk. Ellen slammed the book shut, bile rising in her throat. The floor beneath her felt colder now, and she knew, and had written it. Or one like her. And the child. She stared at the altar, at the cracked stone base. There had to be more. She ran her hands along the base, pressing, searching. A hollow sound answered. Her nails found a seam, and she pressed with all her strength. A panel groaned. Stone scraped against stone. A trapdoor. No hinges, no lock, just a slab pulled back to reveal a hole no wider than a coffin. Darkness breathed upward, warm and damp. And from it came the sound that would haunt her forever. Weeping. Faint. Fragile. Not hers. She lit a candle from the altar and lowered herself into the void. The ladder was stone, slippery with moss. Each step echoed, as though the earth itself recoiled. The tunnel below was narrow, walls tight enough to feel breath against either side. Roots curled through the ceiling like black veins. Water dripped. The further she walked, the louder the sound became, not weeping now, but murmurs. Like prayers, but wrong. Repeated syllables with no meaning. A chant taught not to worship, but to forget. She emerged into a low chamber carved into the bedrock. The air stank of copper and mildew. And there, set against the far wall, was a stone table stained dark with what no holy water could cleanse. Chains hung from the ceiling, rusted and still. On the ground, dried flowers. Scraps of linen. A tiny wooden doll missing an eye. Ellen stumbled backward, hand over her mouth. Against the far wall, etched deep, were tally marks. Dozens. Hundreds. Each scratch a life, a scream, a silence. She found a satchel. Inside it, more journals. All different hands. All the same story. Not witches. Not temptresses. Victims. Each one marked by the church. Each one erased by the men who used them and the women who buried their voices beneath sacred vows. Ellen sank to the floor, shaking. The rosary lay in her lap, the strange runes gleaming in the flicker of her candle. A noise snapped her upright. Footsteps. Someone above. She rose, clutching the journal, her breath shallow. The sound faded. Perhaps a sister. Perhaps not. She turned back to the wall and saw one name etched there in deeper letters, carved with more care than the others. Ellen. Fresh. A candle flickered behind her. The weeping stopped. But it was not her candle. And the silence it left was not empty.